it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Marsh!
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to Hurley's Irish Pub and the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm Jimmy Murphy, your host. Here's my co-host, Pierre McGuire. We are live, as I said, at Hurley's, 1225 Crescent Street. If you're in the area, come on down. It is packed now, Pierre. I mean, we're still, 3 hours away from game time here, and this place is wall to wall.
It is. It's fantastic. It's great. I've been coming here a long time, and I'm happy for Bill Hurley. I'm happy for Rod, and it's awesome to see Boston fans here, Canadians fans here, even Toronto Maple fans.
That's right. Yeah, we got some Pittsburgh Penguins fans.
We got Penguins fans. It's pretty good.
It's good. I'll tell you. And so, look, I got up here yesterday, Pierre. You got here today, but we both said there's a lot of Massachusetts car plates floating around here.
I couldn't believe it. When I got to the customs today in Vermont, I was crossing the border, Jimmy. I'm not sure I've seen that many Massachusetts license plates crossing the border. I thought it was pretty amazing.
Listen, I want to tell our listeners and viewers that are usually with us there in the comment section, we'll try to get to you later. It's a little crazy here right now, but we'll try and get some of your questions in later. We're going to be joined by Tony Marinaro in a bit. He, of course, is on the Sick Podcast Network as well. He'll talk a little Canadians and Bruins as well. But, Pierre, let's get right to this game that I'm about to go cover here at the Bell Center. Look, I know the Canadians are 31 points behind the Boston Bruins in the standings right now. But you know and I know that goes out the door when these two teams play. And I was down there today, and even Jim Montgomery said, look, we don't take these guys lightly. We might have beat them 9-4 last game, but it doesn't matter. That's all out the door. Everything's up for grabs when these two teams get together. It's going to be a great environment. What's your take tonight?
Well, it's an NHL game.
Yeah.
Guys in Montreal are playing for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, they are.
Yep.
People don't realize that. These guys don't want to lose their job. And for Boston, they're trying to get ready, maintain home ice, try to catch Florida, get out of the 2-3 matchup with Toronto. You know, I look at Charlie McAvoy's got to be a ringleader for the Boston.
Yes.
He has to be. I worry about the fatigue of the Bruins down the middle. We'll see how it goes long term. But they got to, whenever you play a non-playoff team, you got to win that game.
Yeah.
So they're going to play to win, Boston. And for Montreal, you're playing for a job.
Well, and it's interesting you say that about a non-playoff team. The Bruins, if my math is correct, in their last 7 games against non-playoff teams, they're 1-6.
No, it's a good point, and I was aware of that, and that's no good.
No. And, you know, people will say, well, you're not playing non-playoff teams in the first round. You're playing playoff teams. It doesn't matter. If you go in with this mindset where you can maybe slip by a little, that will creep in as the playoffs arrive, right?
That's a really good point, and I like what you just said. You know, Jimmy, to me, Boston last year was a major disappointment. You agree?
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
That can't happen again.
Yeah.
You play the 2-3 matchup, that could happen again.
Yep.
I'm not saying it will, but it could.
Well, we know the motivation that Toronto will have.
100%.
I mean, look, Pierre, I've said it to you before, I think on air as well. You think about the Maple Leafs and the Bruins, it's a rivalry. But to me, the Maple Leafs are what the Boston Red Sox were until they beat the New York Yankees in 2004. They just couldn't get past them. That was their block all the time. And once they got past them, they went on and won the title. Their fans, that team, if they get another shot at them, which it looks like they will, that's their championship almost, is that series right there.
I think that's fair to say. I don't think you're full of hyperbole. I think the truth is that Toronto needs to win playoff series. And I think they see Boston as a team they can beat.
Yeah. I think Boston, look, they're not obviously as good as they were last year. I think that this team, it's weird. I look at this team here, I'm a little more, ironically, more confident now than I was with that record-breaking team because I felt like they were right for the picking last year. They were facing a wild card team that maybe shouldn't have been a wild card team, had a slow start, but on paper was a much better team. So I wasn't as surprised as many that happened. But now I look at it, I think they're in a better spot, but at the same time, we talk about the motivation that Toronto has. It could be an upset there as well.
I think the biggest thing, don't put the cart before the horse.
Yep.
So if you're Boston, play to get better every day.
That's what Monty's been saying.
Okay, and he's right.
It's a process.
That's what you do. It's all part of the process. You want to make sure there are no bad habits in your game when the playoffs start.
Yeah.
So you fine-tune now. That being said, you don't lose your edge.
No.
And I don't think Jimmy will allow them to lose their edge.
Especially
I think
after last year.
100%.
Yeah.
For Montreal, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
It's about young guys learning to play games at this time of the year when playoffs do matter.
Yeah.
They need to start playing meaningful games. These are not meaningful games for them. They know they're not making the playoffs. What's meaningful about them is they got to keep their jobs.
Yeah. And it's their rival. And when they love to screw things up,
Well,
the Bruins.
they would.
Yeah.
They absolutely would.
I'll tell you another interesting thing that's been developing in Boston. We've talked about this off air, Pierre. Twice, the other night after their loss to St. Louis and again today, Montgomery was very open about the fact that they are thinking about going for Linus Ullmark will start today, so the rotation is still in place.
Yeah.
However, after this game, you could see Linus Ullmark again against the Flyers on Saturday and maybe again on Tuesday against the Ottawa Senators. They are thinking about letting each goalie ride for about 3 to 4 games to see who can withstand the workload and maybe lean on them and make them the number one guy going into the playoffs. So it seems like they learned their lesson from how they handled it last year when they rotated all the way up into the playoffs, but then said, here, Linus, you take the role now, and it backfired.
In 1992, the New York Rangers won the President's Trophy. They had 2 really good goalies, Mike Richter and John Van Beesbroek. It was a disaster, not because the goalies were bad, but the formula didn't work. And they lost in the second round to a real good Pittsburgh Penguin team that did not have Mario Lemieux in the lineup.
That's right,
because Adam Graves broke his hand.
Yep.
So I'm just telling you, everybody's got their own opinion. My opinion is 2 goalie system doesn't work.
No, it just doesn't. Maybe in the season it can for a little, but I think right now is the time to get the team in the mentality of leaning on one guy.
I was with Craig Patrick most of this past week in Pittsburgh, and one of the things he did that was really smart, when he traded Frank Pietrangelo to Hartford, he made sure he had a backup in case Tommy Barrasso got hurt. The backup was really important, Kenny Reagan. Craig got him. And we were talking about that. He says, we never let them split the games. The only time Kenny played is when Tommy got hurt.
Yep.
He was right on.
Exactly.
And the year before, when Tommy got hurt, Frank Pietrangelo went in. But Frankie knew he was never going to be the starter. Tommy knew he had to carry the ball, and he did. Tommy's in the Hall of Fame for a reason.
Okay.
And one of the reasons is he won back-to-back cups, and he carried the ball, and he was really good.
So
you got to carry the ball. You got to get one guy that can carry the ball.
Now, who's that guy going to be for the Boston
Well, I
Bruins?
can't tell you right now because I don't know what they're thinking as a coaching staff. I have my own preference, but I don't know.
Well, I'm going to give you my theory, Pierre. I mean, if we just look back at what happened last week where they had a deal on the table to trade Linus Ullmark, it got vetoed and Ullmark's still here. But the fact that they were willing, once again, they also were in the summer, to trade him, I would think that means they're very confident that Swayman can handle the reins.
But here's the thing I'm going to tell you. Neither one of those guys has won a playoff series.
No.
Neither one of them.
You're right.
Neither one of them's ever won a freaking playoff series.
Yeah.
So I don't give a poop what everybody else says.
Yeah.
Until you win a playoff series, nobody knows if you're any good or not.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And you think back, too, I don't think Swayman's won a game yet in the playoffs, right? Because he just came in for game 7.
Yeah, he came in for 7.
Ullmark had the whole Carolina
100%.
series the other year.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Pierre, looking around the NHL, I know you were busy with your stuff in Pittsburgh, but I told you about Vancouver blowing a lead to Colorado. I want to ask you right now, I've been talking to people in Vancouver and listening to things on the radio there. The roof is falling there. The sky's falling for the fans right now. Why should Vancouver Canucks fans keep calm right now, considering everything that's been going on with the last month and that Thatcher Demko's out?
Well, they've overachieved for most of the season. They're probably a little tired.
And they're kind of coming to earth.
Coming back to earth a little bit. Everybody's urging for points. I think they'll be fine. I think their coach knows, their coaching staff, led by Rick Tocchet, knows exactly what he's doing, and Demko's going to come back.
Okay. Are they physical enough, though, to handle the West and get through that gauntlet?
So this is a really good question. The arms race started at the trade deadline, maybe a little before. What Colorado did with Duhaime and Yakov Trenin, that changed the
They
whole.
got nasty.
They did. Changed the rules of the game. And I don't know if Edmonton's going to be physical enough. I don't know if Vegas is going to be physical enough. But I do know Colorado and Dallas are going to be physical enough.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to watch.
I think that's an interesting dynamic there, too. Pierre, getting back to the Eastern Conference, you and I, before we came on the air, we were just kind of looking at the wild card there. And I said to you, hey, look at Buffalo creeping up there. But you're not so confident that they can complete the mission.
No, because Tampa's going to keep getting better. They know they got to start to play, and they are. They're starting to play a little bit. Detroit's kind of been disappointing. I think everybody knows. Dylan Larkin's injury played a big role
You
in
called
that.
it when he got hurt.
I was really concerned. But dude,
Yeah.
I mean, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
Dylan's a great. So Josh Norris is a Michigan guy.
Yep.
Hurt his shoulder. Dylan Larkin's a Michigan guy. He's hurt.
Not a good month for the
No,
Wolverines.
it's bad for Wolverine guys. It is. It's bad for Wolverine guys. I just think Dylan's such an important part. He makes everybody better. We had somebody come here at the table where Jimmy and I are talking about Patrick Kane and what a good signing he was. Yeah, it was a good signing. They might not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's not because Patrick's not a good signing.
No.
It's because Dylan Larkin's hurt.
Yeah. And I think also, Pierre, as I was just saying, I also asked you, and as we always are, be transparent with our listeners and viewers. I said, do you think Lalonde's in trouble? And why did you tell me no?
Because I think right now he's part of the process of building the team. I think next year, if they're in the same boat,
Right.
it could be a problem.
So you think they got a little ahead of where they should be?
They're ahead of. They're playing with house money right now.
Okay.
And Stevie deserves a lot of credit because there are guys playing in the American Hockey League, and Tony Marinaro's right to our left. There are guys playing in the American Hockey League right now that if Stevie really wanted to, he could put them in the NHL and they would help the team.
Mm-hmm.
Simon Edmondson, one of them. Carter Mazur's another one of them. They got about 3 or 4 guys that could play up. They're developing them the right way. They're not going to throw them into a pool that they can't swim in right now.
Yeah.
So I really respect that.
Yeah.
I've always respected that. Detroit's motto, overripe, not underdeveloped.
I'm with you on
And
that.
it really works. It does work.
I'm with you. Now, you know what, Pierre? I like that you brought that up because a lot of things I see on Twitter with Bruins fans, they're very upset that the Bruins don't give guys like Fabian Lysell more time
He's
up
not
here,
ready.
or Georgi Merkulov.
No, Merkulov, I think, is more ready because he's a little more stout. Lysell's a really talented kid. Like,
Yeah.
You got to, like, his talent level is extreme, but he's small.
Yeah.
You see what happened to the last small guy you had that was young? He's out for the season.
Yep.
Watrous.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's so hard. I've never seen the league so hard.
So what do you see? I mean, when you talk to fans, they always want to see these young guys get a shot right away. What's your retort to that?
I'll show them a tape of all the young guys that come in the league and get pile driven. They're not physically ready to play. These are men that have mortgages, kids to feed, car payments that they have to make. Like, it's a different. Junior players and college players never have to face that stuff.
Right.
Then you get in the pros and you're like, oh man,
This is real.
these guys. Well, you walk in the dressing room, you see how big the guys
Yeah.
are.
Oh, yeah.
You see how strong they are, and then you see the kids, and you're like, not the same body type.
No, I'm with you.
23, 24, maybe. 19, 18, 20. Not a lot of them.
Well, I'm going to, you know what? Speaking of kids, there's a team here in this city that's got a lot of them that they're trying to filter into the league and develop right now. I'm going to welcome in our friend Tony Marinaro. He's going to switch seats with me because we got a small camera here. Come on in, Tony. And he'll talk to you about the Montreal Canadiens.
Hey, really good seeing you.
It's great to be here. It was funny just listening to Pierre, though, talking about Stevie Yzerman. I guess this is part of what was started in Detroit with Jimmy Devellano and then Ken Holland. There was a rule of thumb back then. You correct me if I'm wrong, Pierre. 3 years or 250 games in the American Hockey League,
100%.
or else you don't come up.
100%.
Yeah.
You know what? And you look at Erickson, the big, tall defenseman that played. He was 3 full years in the American Hockey League before they even gave him a sniff.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
But, it's good to see you guys here. And obviously, this Canadiens-Bruins rivalry is nowhere close to where it used to be. And with all the great years, I would say that it was probably at its best in the 70s, especially particularly 71 to 79 with those 2 very historic series, the one in 71, the one in 79. The Canadiens won both in 7 games, of course. But even with the Canadiens in a rebuild, the amount of people walking the streets in Bruins jerseys, Ray Bork, Cam Neely, Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, I saw so many of those jerseys
It's
today.
amazing. I walked from
The
my
rivalry
mother,
will never die, Pierre.
so my mother's 20 minutes north of here. I walked down the street. I couldn't believe how many Bruins sweaters I saw. I was shocked. I grew up in this town just like you did. I'm like, nobody wore a Bruins sweater when I was a kid. They'd get beat up. Now they wear them. It's unbelievable.
And the timing of a Canadiens-Bruins matchup is obviously great with St. Patrick's here.
It's perfect.
Tomorrow and on the weekend and the parade and all that stuff. And there's 35 reasons why our friends in the United States make their way down, right? 35 on the dollar.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. How about the crowd here?
Yeah, I know the crowd is amazing.
It's amazing.
There's always a great crowd at Hurley's, and when you're talking hockey, they knew that you and Jimmy were going to be here.
They knew you were coming too.
Pierre, I have to tell you something. I've been pretty critical in my years of either the GMs or the Montreal Canadiens because I heard all those stories of Scotty Bowman and Sam Pollock and, you know, those great Canadiens teams that won 4 Stanley Cups and 5 Stanley Cups in a row. But having said that, I think if we can all face reality that those days are over, teams don't win the Stanley Cup anymore. It's hard to repeat, never mind 4 or 5 in a row. I really like the management team they put together. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I think that Jeff Gordon, Kent Hughes, and Marty St. Louis are the perfect guys for the job, considering what they're trying to accomplish here, in the context that is. I mean, if they were going for the Cup in the next 2 years, I might have a different answer. But with this, I approve.
Really well said.
Yeah.
Totally agree, Tony. I really do. I think the biggest thing is Jeff started the rebuild in New York, and he did a good job with it. So Chris Drury's a beneficiary of all the hard work Jeff did. Ken Hughes was an agent. He's going to manage the cap. He knows asset value of players. So you're not going to have cap issues in a marketplace where the cap's important. People forget that.
Yeah.
You know, not a lot of free agents want to come here for taxation issues.
Yeah.
You know that.
So important that they extended John Sedgwick a couple of days ago, of course, because they obviously like what he's doing.
And he's a very good hockey man.
Yeah.
And he's a really good businessman. And he's a really good attorney. So you combine all those things, it's pretty good.
So I know Jimmy wanted me to talk Habs, and I will in a second, but I'm going to say this. I think Jim Montgomery is getting a lot out of his team, more so than a lot of people think. I'm not going to tell you that they're a fraud because that's a big word, and I wouldn't say that. I'm not going to disrespect them. A team that has 2 very good goalies for the regular season, 3 of their top 4 I like very much. You have a guy like Pasternak, who's one of the elite players in the league. Marchand's turned into a complete hockey player the last 6 or 7 years. It's unbelievable. But Pierre, based on what I've seen in the last couple of years, you need to be really deep at center. You need to have a top 4 on defense that can log a lot of minutes. And you need to have not the best goalie, but the goalie who gets hot at the right time. I don't know how comfortable Jim Montgomery is with Coyle, Zaka, and Geeky as his top 3 centermen going into the playoffs. On the record, I'm sure he'll tell you he's comfortable. When he sleeps at night, knowing that he can go up against Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, knowing that he can go up against Mika Zibanejad and Vincent Trocheck and Wenberg and Barclay Goodrow, knowing that he can go up against Barkov and Bennett and Lundell, and that's just in the East. And we haven't even talked about the West with McKinnon and Middlestat and Ross Colton. We haven't even talked about Vegas with Eichel and Thomas Hurley and Chandler Stevenson. And
how about the trade of Thomas Hurley? Come on.
On paper, I think Vegas is the most complete team in the National Hockey League.
But they have to get guys back healthy.
Yes.
But if you talk to people in the National Hockey League, the Hurdle deal is the one that got everybody like, what? What are you doing? Because the cap implications, it's not so bad for this year. It's down the road for San Jose. There's so implications.
So proactive by Vegas, though.
100%.
Because a lot of teams, I'm sure, were looking at a player that was extended to a long-term deal and saying, we're not even going to look at this guy. This guy's not going to be traded. They come in and say, hold on a second. He was signed by someone else. They're in a rebuild. They're not going anywhere for the next 3 or 4 years in San Jose.
Right.
Maybe this player let's talk to them. Maybe they'd like to get that contract off the cap. But I'm happy that about 10 minutes ago, you brought up Brandon Duhaime. In my opinion, one of the top 3 energy players in the National Hockey League.
I was shocked Minnesota let him go. I watched that kid play at Providence College. Tough, 6'3", 220 pounds, skates, energized. Remember Dustin Brown when he played in LA?
Of course.
Same, not as good offensively as Dustin. Same impact physically. And an elite penalty killer. Duhaime's an elite penalty killer. I was stupefied that Minnesota would trade him in the division. I
got a question for you with the Canadiens. Max Lapierre brought it up a couple of days ago on the Sick podcast, and he said, Tony, I know Canadiens fans are enamored with Suzuki, with Caulfield and Slavkovsky. It's worked out pretty well this year. Caulfield's shooting percentage is a little down. But he said, let's just talk for the sake of talking now. how about if Suzuki would play with Slafkovsky and Kirby Dach next year? And I said, well, Max, that probably wouldn't happen because Jeff Gordon and Ken Hughes have identified Kirby Dach as a centerman. He says, yeah, but don't you think it's a much more complete line? And I said, yes, I think it's more of a playoff line than the other one would be a regular season line. But I said the only way that can happen going forward, you end up drafting a guy like Caden Lindstrom or something like you need to have, because I'm not comfortable with Newhook in the 2-hole. For me, Alex Newhook plays on the third line of a team that could win the Stanley
100%.
Cup.
Well, that's what look what Colorado did when he was there.
That's right.
He was a
third
depth
line.
player. Yeah, he was a depth player for them. 100%.
So what would you say to Maxime Lapierre, who says, Pierre, what do you think of when Kirby Dach played right wing on that line, or played right wing with Caulfield and Suzuki? He had a lot of success at the beginning of last season. But going forward, if the Canadians thought of putting Dach on right wing, would that be something that you would
I'd be open to, but I would be more concerned about is who's going to be my second line center.
Yeah.
But I would be, the way you presented and the way Maxime presented, it makes a lot of sense. But, and this is the but, if you don't have a second center in the Eastern Conference and you eloquently stated all the different matchup potential, you're not going to win.
In this city, a lot of people have asked themselves whether or not Nick Suzuki is a number one center in the National Hockey League.
He's a number one center.
I think he answered that question this year.
You're going to probably be mad at me for saying this.
Yeah.
When I watch Nicky right now,
Yeah.
I see a young Joe Sakic. I am not saying he's better than Joe Sakic.
I hear you. I understand.
But I coached against Joe a lot. I drew up a lot of game plans to stop Joe. I watch Suzuki. There's a lot of similarity. Not saying he's better, but they're similar.
I think that question has been answered, considering that I think today he's top 13 or 14 in the National Hockey League for points by centerman and goals by centerman. But the other question that still hasn't been answered, and he gave us a sneak preview in the last, a couple of years ago when they went to the final, but can Cole Caulfield be a first-line player on a team that could contend for the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, he can, but that's why you have to have a second center. Because if you don't, everybody loads up on your top line, Cole's on it, and in a set, let's just say you play 3 7-game series, you're going to have nothing left, even if you get to the final. He's just not being So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I talked about Sakic.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they traded Lindros for Forsberg?
I do.
Remember what happened to Joe Sakic?
Well, he got insulated by Forsberg.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going with the Canadians thing.
Yeah.
So for Nick Suzuki, they need to get another center. If they don't, well, if they move Kirby Dach to your theory or Maxime Lapierre's theory, if they move him, they need another center.
Obviously, in a much smaller sense, one of the reasons why the Kings wanted to sign Gano is they didn't want Kopitar to be part of those matchups all the time. They wanted to give him a couple of nights off to set him free.
You're so spot on.
Yeah.
So they've had one disappointment in LA.
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Okay, we didn't rehearse that.
No.
But we said it at the same time.
Yeah.
Blake Lazat's not a disappointment.
No.
I don't think that any of the other offensive players in LA have been a disappointment.
Neither are Moore Lewis.
Only one guy.
Yeah. And you're right about that. It's Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah. So they would like to fix that, I'm sure, but they can't.
The red flags have been up on Dubois going back to Columbus and Tortorella. The tape doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't. So they can't.
Yeah. So the other question, so we talked about Caulfield. Max Pacioretty was a big-time goal scorer for the Canadians for many years. To his credit, he scored 30, 33, 35, 37, 39. But it still came with some kind of criticism, especially when he was wearing the C. And his leadership, there were some who didn't think he was the best captain they ever had. He was, for the most part, a perimeter player. Now, I think being a perimeter player and scoring that amount of goals, I think it's pretty remarkable. Do you think Cole Caulfield is more than a perimeter player?
Well, it's going to be hard for him to get to the net. It depends how you quantify perimeter. Like, I think he's a power play sniper, and when Lane Hudson gets here, the power play for Montreal changes a lot. People are going to be amazed. So if I were Montreal, I'd play 11 forwards and 7D. I would. And he would be my power play specialist. He would never be on the ice at the end of a period. He would never be on the ice if the team needed to defend a 1-goal lead. Never. Yeah. He would never be on the ice. But if I needed points or my power play was on, so you're going to say usually there are 3 to 6 penalties in a game.
Does Hudson remind you of someone who broke into the league with a smaller stature, smaller frame, was able to put on some muscle and still be able to play at the National Hockey League level the way he's playing at the collegiate level?
Fox, that's the guy. But Adam's taller than Lane. He's taller, but I watched him play a lot at Harvard.
You know-
and I watched him practice a lot at Harvard. A lot.
Pierre, I'll make you laugh. When I saw Lane Hudson last here in Montreal at development camp in Brassard, and I saw the way he was playing, he looked like a kid on a pond, playing against 4 and 5 years younger. He has the abilities of a centerman. Like, I'm not making no statement here to tell you that Lane Hudson's going to be a centerman in the National Hockey League. But he's got that vision. He's got that playmaking ability. He's obviously got a special
That's
skill
why he's
set.
going to help the power play a ton.
Yeah.
And if you need to come out of your own zone clean, he's going to help you. So what you need to do is go back in time. When Brian Leetch was at his best in New York, he had a guy named Jeff Bookaboom as his partner. Bookaboom wasn't there to handle the puck. He wasn't there to skate the puck. He was there to block for Leetch and make sure Leetch had time and space to make plays.
Here in Montreal, we're used to seeing Nick Suzuki being the guy with the zone entries on the power play. And every now and then when teams are waiting for it, Mike Matheson might do it occasionally. I would imagine you, having watched Lane Hudson more than several times. What can you tell us about? Is he the guy who carries the puck into the offensive zone of the power play?
His straight ahead speed's not as good as everybody says. He's not Matheson. Mike Matheson's an elite skater.
Yeah.
But what he has, Lane has, compared to Mike, he's got amazing deception in his game. He can look at you, but he knows where the play is over there.
Before I bring Jimmy back in, you've talked to Canadiens fans a lot about Jacob Fowler. What would his development path look like for you in the next couple of years?
So let's say Boston College won the NCAA tournament this year. I would have to think Montreal would try to get Fowler out. There's nothing left for him to prove.
And get him in Laval as of next season.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's that good.
He and Dobish competing in Laval, Primo and Montembeault competing in Montreal, and the internal competition has started.
Yeah. Makes everybody better.
Pierre, great seeing you. Thanks for having me, my man.
my gosh,
Always a
great to
privilege.
see you.
Thank
Great
you
to
very
see
much. Let's bring him back.
All right, let's get in here. Thank you, Tony. I'm back, guys.
In case you missed it, Jimmy, the Bruins aren't going anywhere in the playoffs, but I do love Jim Montgomery.
I would agree. So I heard what you guys are talking about there. When it comes to the center position in Montreal, Pierre, I think when Kirby Dach is healthy, they need to just see what happens. I wouldn't rush into anything this offseason and try and bring in another number 2 center. I would maybe look for a depth guy at 3, but
It depends on what you're going to do with Newhook.
yeah,
You're going to play him on the wing or at center?
I would play him on the wing. He just seems to be
I
more
know, that's
comfortable
what
there.
you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Down the stretch here for Montreal, I'm pretty sure they have an idea what they want their roster to look like.
Uh-huh.
But what happens if somebody offers you a lot? Like somebody can't afford to keep a center on their roster.
Right.
And there's a center you might like.
Yeah.
So it's to speculate wouldn't be fair to
Yeah.
anybody.
You got to see what happens when we get to that
So,
point.
and what about playoff disappointments? Let's just say Boston loses in the first round, or let's say Colorado loses the first round, or let's say Edmonton loses in the first round. I don't think they'll be. I don't think they need to worry there. Let's say Tampa doesn't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some. There's never anybody that's not happy all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this, Pierre. There's a guy in Vegas. I'm staying with the Canadiens here. He's from this province. He's a free agent.
Marchessault?
Yes. Now, hear me out. A lot of people are saying it makes perfect sense for him to come back and play for the Canadiens in his home province. Vegas won't be able to afford him, right? But they're also saying he's so happy there, he might take a pay cut to stay in Vegas. I don't see how, if he hit the free agent market, the only place I see him taking a pay cut is to stay in Vegas because he's so used to it there. He's so happy. He won a cup there. He might win another. Do you see him taking a pay cut to come here?
So let me ask you a question. What do you think Montreal would have to pay him?
Well, so 9.
Okay. So let's say Vegas says, we'll give you 8, but you don't have to pay state income tax.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't see it happening, but it's a buzz thing right now in
So
Montreal.
what I would do if I were negotiating, I'd say, what did Steven Stamkos do when he had Toronto and Tampa? It was pretty easy. He didn't go to Toronto, even though everybody said he was going to Toronto. He stayed in Tampa.
Yeah,
Why was that? Taxes. State income
and
tax.
familiarity.
Yeah, but he was from Toronto.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't
It
go.
plays a big role.
Yeah. So why would Marchessault come back here if he could get the same money
Yeah.
and live in the same house?
Yep.
And
not
be
pay
part of the
taxes.
same team
Yeah.
and not pay taxes.
Yeah, I'm
so
with you.
everybody speculates, but so there are different rules you can use when you're looking at contracts.
Yeah.
Look at past contracts, look at past negotiations, and then build off of that.
Yeah.
Not everything's infallible, but sometimes you can recognize how things happen.
Let's stay in the center position and switch over to the other team that's going to be on the ice tonight, the Boston Bruins. We know for a fact that Don Sweeney was trying to get Elias Lindholm. We know he's been looking for a center since last summer. Charlie Coyle, Pavel Zacha, God bless them, they did their job, but they overachieved. And I think we can all agree that, they're two. Coyle's a 2. Zach will be a good 3.
Yeah, and Geeky's probably a 4.
And
on
Geeky's
good
a
team,
4 on a
but he's
on a
playing-
real
yeah, he's
contending
playing-
team.
And the guy that I think let him down just a little bit, Jimmy, Johnny Beecher. I think they felt Beecher.
By the way, in the game tonight, back up.
Okay, but
Yep.
you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
They thought, I think, that he was going to be able to this year take another step.
Yep.
That hasn't happened.
No, he did for a bit, and then he sort of got a little complacent, I would say.
But he's young. He's also, I want to
He's young.
stress, he's young.
Yep.
So I kind of like what Donnie's done with him.
Yeah.
But that being said, he's got to start to show.
So I actually had a good little one-on-one with Johnny today.
Okay, good.
And I was talking to him about that. I said, how did you take it when you got sent down? And did you set goals for yourself of how you would get back here? He said, well, you know what? Obviously, I was bummed when it happened. But I also looked at it and I said, there's way worse things in that could happen in life than being sent down to another pro hockey league. I'm playing pro hockey for a living. People are doing a lot harder jobs out there. I know I'm lucky. I went down there. I focused on the things they told me to do, and I'm grateful for the opportunity I had there. I like that mentality that he
I do
has
too.
there.
So that must, I'm going to say this, that's probably coming from an organizational message.
Mm-hmm.
When you send a player down, you explain to him why he's going down, if you're doing it right,
Yep.
and what he can do to get back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that came from Donnie Sweeney
Yeah.
and probably Jimmy Montgomery. And hats off to both of them.
Yeah.
That's the right organizational message.
Exactly. And I think it made him understand, like, how lucky he was to be here. Like, I could really see it in his face when he was talking to me. He was sincere. He's like, look, I got to realize this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
If I don't take advantage of this, who knows when I'll be back
I love
here.
it. I love it. I think, so again, I've known Jimmy a long time. I've known Donnie a long time.
Yep.
I respect both guys a lot.
Yep.
And I think they probably get it, in terms of sending kids down.
I'll tell you what Jimmy said, though. So I spoke to Jimmy before, John, and I said, what are you looking for from Beecher? And he said, well, I'm looking for him to do everything we've asked and do it on a consistent basis. He didn't do that last time, and if he doesn't do it this time, he's going right back. So they're being very straight with him. They're not pulling anything back. They're being honest with him. And I'm with you. I think that's the way to handle it. Don't ever give any false impressions. Let these kids know exactly, hey, you have an opportunity here, but it's not going to be handed to you.
100%. That's how it should be.
But you see it happen so many times, right? In sports, not just in hockey.
But in hockey a lot because we rush guys.
And that's just what we were talking about before.
We rush guys.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know why teams do that, but they do. I've told this story many times. I had a player, Robert Petrovicki.
Oh, yeah. I remember him.
It was pronounced Petrovicki, but everybody called him Petrovicki. First-round pick. Kid was great at camp. He was great in camp. And I said to Brian Burke, and Berkey totally supported us as coaches. We should keep him here, let him practice with us. He'll get better with us, and we'll create a schedule for him. And to this day, I'm convinced when we did that as a staff, we did it wrong, and we didn't never help that kid's career be what it could have been. We did it wrong. He didn't.
Wow.
We did
It's good
it.
of you to admit that.
And I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
But that's because we thought we could get him to another level, and we didn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the kid's fault. It was our fault.
Yeah.
It was our fault.
He wasn't ready.
No.
That's it.
It was our fault.
Oh, look at these. Look at these glasses. Look at that. Should I throw them on?
Yes.
The leprechaun throws them on? What do you think?
Yeah, they're good.
Should I watch the game with these
No,
on?
No.
It is St. Patrick's Week here in Montreal. And for those that don't know out there that aren't from Montreal, this is up until COVID, I'm not mistaken, this was the longest running St. Patrick's Day parade in North America.
That I don't know, but I do know when I was a kid growing up,
It's a big event.
We had major at our home, McGuire.
Yes.
We had major parties at our house. And I remember being a kid just watching the adults, stagger out of the house.
Did Sally and Rex make the old corned beef or what? Corned beef and cabbage?
No. There was other things that were for eating, but
I'll tell you what. Just on that note, we'll get back to hockey in a sec. I never understood that whole thing. Everybody goes right crazy and eats that.
yeah, I don't know. I never had it. I didn't
corned
know.
beef.
I never had it either. I
Yeah,
didn't
people like,
really-
how can you not like it? You're Irish, because it's not good.
Yeah, no,
It is what
I'll eat lamb from Ireland all day long, though. I'll tell you that.
There you go.
When last trip we were over at Christmas time, Melanie and I and Justine, my daughter, we had some lamb that was just crazy good. I could eat it like all night long. It was
Nice.
so good. It
Good
was
stuff.
really good.
Good stuff. Back to hockey here. Look at that game right now tonight here. And I mentioned to you Andrew Peak, the guy they just acquired from the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I watch him play a lot at Notre Dame.
Okay.
So he's
What's your
big,
scouting report?
big. He skates pretty well for a big guy, actually.
Mhm.
He's not shy. Uses his stick really well. Not a lot of points. You're not going to get a lot of points out of him.
Right.
He's probably a 6'7" guy. But in a playoff series, if it gets to be heavy, that's where he'll be better.
Uh-huh.
If it's a fast, skillful series, not sure that it would be as good.
Can he replace some of what the Bruins are going to lose in Derek Forbort because he's out for the season?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I'll qualify it by saying this. Forbort hadn't been having a real good run.
No.
I was surprised by that.
But he was, you should know, he was playing with 2 injuries
I
the whole
understand,
season.
but you understand he wasn't playing
No.
to the level they needed him to.
No.
So, yeah, the injuries mattered. So they needed an upgrade. I get it. I think he can. I don't think he's going to give you a lot of points.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're looking for
Yeah,
that.
so,
they just want a dependable guy, steady.
He
He's
can
not
do
going to make
that.
mistakes.
He can do that.
That's all they want.
Yeah.
But I think we agree, Pierre, and we were saying it all the way up into the trade deadline. The Bruins needed Noah Hannafin or somebody like him to even out that top 4. Because right now, and, I asked Tim Montgomery about this. He didn't really want to talk about it. Seemed to kind of shoo me away when I asked. I said, are you thinking about load management? He said, no. That's it, and went to the next question.
So I would say he's probably not thinking about load management because he wants to get out of the 2-3 series.
Okay.
I'm just telling you.
But-
I would not. I know Boston's had a lot of success with Toronto, but you can only beat a team so many times.
Right. I know.
And then it turns against you.
Yep. I'm with you, Pierre. But don't you think they should have learned from what they did last year when they're going for all those records and they were pounding Bergeron? Krejci was playing too much. McAvoy was playing too much. And by the time they got to the Florida series and the game went up a level, really up a level physically, they couldn't handle it because
No.
they were tired. And they,
But we talked about it off the air. We talked about it on the air. They got to get out of it. They got to play.
Yeah.
They got to get through this.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot. This is part of the problem. You talked about Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Vegas has been obviously picking up players. Boston isn't.
Yeah. I'm with you. All right. Look, Pierre, you know what?
Let's do
I wasn't going to do it, but we're here.
should. Let's do
I
it.
want to involve our people watching and online in the comments section here. We got some questions here. Guys, can you pull up some questions for us there? All right. Morant says, gentlemen, in your opinion, will Caden Primo take over the #1 starting job in net for the Habs?
No.
No. I'm with you. All right. Next. David Robinson. What's up, Dave? Who is a young D-man in the Habs system Bruins fans will soon dislike immensely, and the young forward? Well, I'm going to say
Jack
Jack Eye.
Eye.
Yep, and the forward.
Well, no, I'll even say Logan Mayu.
Oh, yeah. He could be even more of a pest, eh?
Well, his skill level's a little higher too.
Yeah.
But he's a big kid.
Okay.
And then and what was it? The other one?
And who's the forward that they're not going to like? Who's the next Claude Lemieux?
No, they don't have anybody like that. And I say that out of admiration for Claude. I coach his brother Jocelyn.
Yep.
I really like both guys.
By the way, his kid just re-upped. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
There's a nuclear arms buildup going on around hockey.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Joshua Roy.
Joshua Roy. Okay.
I am. And it's not because of like the anger stuff, because he's going to score, I think. He's
Yep.
going to drive fans nuts because of his scoring.
All right. Let's go. What next question? Matthew Cesar, question: is it a problem for the Leafs that Matthews will not get involved in any of the rough stuff? I feel that a 6'3" player who hides from any confrontation is just demoralizing his team. That's not his job, though.
No,
eh?
I don't think it's his job. What I'd say is this. I just spent the whole week, obviously, in Pittsburgh. Jaromir Jagr was there. Mario was there. Joey Mullen was there. Kevin Stevens was there. We talked about all these things. And I think one of the things is everybody's got a clearly defined role. You know, and people on our team knew. And Jay Caulfield was there, too. Jay, I didn't forget you. But everybody had a role. And if you touched Mario from the opposition, you knew you couldn't get away with it for
And
long.
Murray didn't have to do it. Yeah.
No, so Austin Matthews shouldn't have to do that.
No.
That's not his thing.
No.
But I think the Leafs have kind of exposed themselves because they've counted on Austin Matthews and Mitchell Marner. And you and I have talked about it. I don't think anybody else has. If you took Austin Matthews' goals off the Leafs lineup,
They're not in the playoffs.
no,
They're not in the playoffs. They might even be a lottery team.
they would be a lottery
Yeah.
team. So,
And by the way, I'm glad you brought up Mitch Marner. Pierre, it's kind of I'm sure in Toronto, but around the league right now, no one's really talking about it. He has not played since that loss against the Boston Bruins. That's something to watch as we head in the playoffs here.
100%.
That's what, like 4 games
yeah,
now, 5
and
games?
I don't know what's going on there, but that's okay. I get it.
Yeah,
They
it's
protect
kind of
anybody.
like hush-hush, but something's
no,
up there.
I agree, Jimmy. I agree.
Yeah, we'll watch that. All right, next question. Matthew Cesar again. Question for Pierre. Which Canadian team would you most like to see win the Cup? Wow.
Come on.
I think we're right
I'm
here.
from Montreal.
Yeah.
I'm from Montreal.
When in Rome, come on.
Even if I wasn't here,
Yeah.
I'd say. And like, I can quantify it. I worked with Rick Bowness. I know Kenny Holland really well in Edmonton. I tried
You know
to recruit,
Rick Tocchet well.
I tried to recruit Craig Conroy out of Northwood. He went to Clarkson. I tried to get him to St. Lawrence. I know Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon really well. I know most of the guys in Ottawa real well. I know the guys in Toronto. I know Rick Tocchet. I won a Stanley Cup with Rick. But no, Montreal.
No, I want
come
this.
on.
Look,
Like,
Pierre-
I'm not broadcasting the game so I can get away with this now.
Yeah.
I want Montreal to win the cup.
I do too, and I'm from Boston.
But I
I'll
don't
tell
mean
you
any
this, Pierre.
disrespect to any of the other teams.
The last time the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup is I was a senior in high school, 1993.
I was coaching Hartford.
Okay. and I remember one of my friends, unbeknownst to him, came up here by accident he just came up here for vacation, but didn't realize it was the parade. And to this day, and he's a Bruins fan, diehard Bruins fan. To this day, the Montreal Canadiens are his second favorite team just because of that parade.
Yeah.
So if he's saying that, I want to be here when that happens again. I want to see what that
We'll be
parade's like.
broadcast. If they win the cup, we'll broadcast from here.
Oh, that will be something, man.
That'll be
That will
good.
be something.
That'll be
Next
good.
question. Michael Zaidan. Sick podcast, the eye test. Who should the Habs target at the 2024 draft, taking into consideration their needs, department, lack, etc.?
Cole Eiserman.
Ooh. Yep. Interesting.
To see what happens with the
And
lottery.
he's gonna drop a little, isn't he?
4, 5, 6.
Yep. Okay. That'll be
I just
interesting.
think he's going to be you. They got a great relationship with the coaches there.
Yep.
Lane Hudson's there. Luke Tuck's there. You know, they're always going to be being pot, big games, good team.
I like
I'd say
it.
Cole
All right.
Eiserman.
Next question. Evan McLaren. What's up, Evan? Pierre, do you know if Barrasso ever thought about trying to score a goal? He was an amazing puck-handling goaltender. He functioned as a third defenseman on breakout sometimes. Should have had some goals.
The answer is yes. But
Did he talk about it?
Not that no, Tommy didn't talk much about that, but I saw him in practice,
yeah.
trying to do it a lot. Yeah. Tommy you know what made him such a good puck handler? He was an elite skater. He wasn't a little bit good. He was an elite skater.
Yeah.
So he can go back, and our boards in Pittsburgh were really fast in the old Civic Arena. He could go back and get the puck. He was so good. He was a left-hand shot. He could wire the puck.
Yeah.
He could really wire it. So the answer is yes.
All right. Good stuff. Next question. Hey, guys. It is from John Smith. What's up, John? We're still waiting for that photo, buddy. Hey, guys. Here's one for you. Top 2 biggest clutch playoff performers for both teams, the Habs and the Bees, that you've both seen. Cheers, happy St. Patty's. I'll let you go first.
For Boston, I'm going to say Bobby Orr. For Montreal, I'm going to say Guy Lafleur.
Okay. So in my lifetime, when I grew up watching, I'm going to say Cam Neely. And for the Montreal Canadiens, ooh, that's a good one. Patrick Waugh.
Or Claude
Patrick
Lemieux.
Waugh.
Or Claude Lemieux.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it has to be a skater.
Yeah.
I'll say Claude Lemieux skater, but overall, Patrick Waugh.
But yeah, so Guy, I watched Guy from the time he was a 20. People forget that. When Guy Lafleur got drafted, he wasn't 18, he was 20. It was a 20-year-old draft. So he was more mature.
All right.
Dude, he was
Speaking
good.
of Guy Lafleur,
he was good.
I don't know if our producers got it. I sent it. There's a clip here. You won't hear it. I'll tell you about it later. But for our listeners, play that Jimmy Montgomery clip right now if you can. He spoke about growing up, watching Guy Lafleur with his dad and going to the games. How did you get every time you come back here for a game?
You know, it's funny, like walking in the rink today, I was thinking about it, like the old Montreal Forum and now here. And, I get really excited just because it's, it's where I grew up. It's the team I grew up watching, idolizing player after player. So it's special to come back here. And for me, it really goes back to driving in the car with, especially my dad, coming to a game, having a hot dog and watching Guy Lafleur score goals. Like it's that'll never leave me because the 10-year-old or the 6-year-old in you never leaves you.
Is it just so cool to be part of the rivalry, but even though it's on the other side?
Yeah, it is. It's really cool to be part of the rivalry.
And we're back. And yeah, it was great
Hey,
stuff
wait a
here.
second. I know why you don't have your hat on. Montgomery took your hat.
He did. Jimmy Montgomery took the Scally cap, the Murph cap. Actually, I was wearing it at practice today, and he came out and he saw me and he said, "Nice cap." I said, "You too." He loves it. I'm telling I think if the team would let him, like if it wasn't, I think on some special nights, these centennial nights, he's been wearing those. But he's telling me, he's like, I want to wear this behind the bench every night. I said, then go for it.
Hey, watch tapes of Billy Ray when he coached in Chicago.
Did he have?
He wore a fedora.
Oh, the fedoras.
He wore a fedora.
Like the who's
Billy
the
Ray.
Dallas coach that did it?
Tom Landry.
Yeah.
Tom Landry.
He made that. That was his trademark, eh?
It was. But told Blake.
Did Joe Blake wear one too?
Sometimes he had a cap on. So, yeah, I'm just trying to go around the league. Other guys I can think of.
Yeah.
But no, Billy Ray was the one that really stood out in Chicago.
Okay.
He had the fedora on all the time.
I think Mike Babcock wore a fedora a couple times. Was it just the outdoor
but
games?
Not in.
Okay.
No.
I got you.
Babs always wanted to show off the gel in his hair. I can say that because I have that great hair.
I'm going to be with you soon. All right, next question. Jeffrey B. Zach Hyman continues to dominate playing alongside McDavid. Do you believe Toronto let him walk thinking he would start to decline due to the ACL injury he suffered before he became a UFA?
No,
I think it was just bad judgment.
They just made a mistake.
They made a big mistake.
They used analytics when they evaluated Zach Hyman.
Yep.
I can tell you right now, I was in Ottawa. We wanted to try to sign Zach Hyman.
Patrick last night, by the way.
I know.
Yep.
Listen, all those guys in Pittsburgh I was talking with, like they're big-time offensive players. That's all everybody was talking about, was Zach Hyman.
Yeah. Speaking of that Edmonton game, and I told you when we were driving up and you were talking, Pierre, what a great moment. And it was cool. I don't think the Capitals took it as an offense.
No.
The 7th goal was scored by Connor Brown. It was his first goal since 2022 after all he's been through with the injuries. And God bless that crowd at Rogers Place. They got on their feet. They gave him about a 3-minute standing ovation.
I agree.
I thought that was classy. And he had tears in his eyes. It was a great moment.
I had a chance to work with Connor, and our team wasn't very good. Connor was really good.
Yeah.
He was really good. On a bad team, he was
Good
really
guy,
good.
too.
I thought he was a really good teammate.
Uh-huh.
I liked how brash he was. I liked the fact that he had passion to win all the time. He'd come in and ask really good questions. He got along with everybody. I like Connor Brown a lot. I was so happy to see him do that last night. I was
That's
really
good
happy
stuff.
for him.
Good stuff. And good on that crowd to recognize that. I love good hockey fans like that who are aware of the situation.
Yeah.
All right, final question here, and we're going to sign it off from here. Alex Evanovsky, why are the hot dogs so good in Montreal? Everybody
It's the
keeps
buns.
talking about them.
It's not just
It's
the
the
toasted
buns. He said it.
buns.
There is.
Yes,
the
it's the toasted buns.
Here, I've told this story before, I think, to you on the air. I'm going to tell it again. First time I ever covered a Bruins game, Game 6, 2002, Game 6, Bruins Canadiens at the Bell Center. My dad calls me as I'm getting in the Bell. He says, "Did you get in there yet?" I go, "Not yet." He goes, "All right, you're going to do me two things. You're going to tell me how you like the hot dogs, and you're going to tell me how beautiful the elevator women are." So I called him 20 minutes later, and I said, check.
Okay, so now I'm going to tell you, the only place in the league that could rival the hot dogs in Montreal was the Colisée in Quebec.
Oh, yeah.
And what
I
would
had
happen,
those.
the locker room attendant was a guy named Brian Shaw. Nicest man. He was a retired firefighter. And every pregame, you'd have your meeting with your players. You come back in your office, and there'd be a big box of hot dogs, and you kind of had to be careful. So Richard used to be the locker room attendant in Montreal, and I remember we played here a lot because we were in the same division, the Adams division. Say to Richard, make sure you don't bring him in before the meeting. You got to bring him in after the meeting. And you'd see the coaches just rubbing stuffing them in their face.
Yeah, I gotta say too. You think about it. Thank God you're such a workaholic when it comes to keeping in shape and staying healthy. Because think of all the bad food that gets thrown in front of you guys over the years, and the beers and
the week I just had at Lemieux's fantasy camp.
Just sweat it out already.
Or yeah, we were good. But I look at all the guys. Darius Kasparaitis.
Oh,
he still looks like he can play.
Yeah.
Matthew Barnaby looks like he can still play. I'm not kidding you. Ryan Malone, my goodness gracious. He was phenomenal.
Was his dad there too?
No, Bugsy showed up. Greg and I worked together. He was there last night.
Okay, good. Bugsy's a great guy.
So he was great. But I'm just telling you, there's a reason why those guys lasted as long as they did in pro hockey.
Yeah.
They took care of themselves.
You have to.
But you can get off the track pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
You really can, especially when you come north of the border.
Yeah.
And you got poutine and you got hot dogs and you got
you got Hurley's Irish Pub, which is absolutely packed right now. I want to thank everyone for coming down here. Yeah. Tons of Bruins fans, tons of Canadiens fans. A lot of good beer flowing. Great food. If you're listening right now, you're in the hood, come on down, 1225 Crescent Street Pub. Say hello to Rod Appleby, the general manager, and treat waitresses and the bartenders right. Tip them good. And tell them Jimmy Murphy and Pierre McGuire sent you. You'll have a great time. Listen, Pierre, we're going to do this again. Oh, yeah. This was great. This was great. And I think we should move it to other places, too. Yeah, we'll do Montreal. We'll do a tour. I think we should do one in Toronto. I think we should do one in Boston. I think we should do one in New York. Pittsburgh, baby. Yeah. We're going to Pittsburgh. Oh, we're going to Pittsburgh. Maybe we'll get Mario to come on. Ace will come on. Yeah. We'll get him on. We'll get him on. But it's been a pleasure here. Look at the ring. I love it. I got to try that on after. It won't fit you. No. Only fits winners. I'm joking. Let me tell you this right now. It has been an honor to be here, though, because, Pierre, you know how much this city means to me. It's become a second home to me. And to be here on this weekend, kicking off the festivities for St. Patrick's Day weekend. If you're here this weekend, come here. They've got live music every night starting tonight. They even had it last night, I think. They're going to be here all weekend. It's going to be fun. Stay safe. Do it like a pro, but enjoy yourself. For Pierre McGuire, I'm Jimmy Murphy, live from Hurley's Pub. This has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.